to the show.
We know that we know. If you know, you know.
If you knew, you knew.
It is what it is. But yeah, one of the things I wanted to ask you guys about, I don't know if you guys heard, but did you guys hear about the straight pride parade that's supposed to be taking place?
No.
In DC?
No, I think it's supposed to be in Boston.
No, I knew there was one in DC.
But yeah, it's like a straight pride.
Did you say straight pride?
Yeah,
What
straight
the hell
pride.
does that mean?
Like the opposite of gay pride.
Yeah. You never heard of that?
Well, I thought just straight up pride was like the Pride Festival or Pride.
Yeah, pride.
Week,
Yeah, it's
month?
typically homosexual stuff, like LGBT, right?
Q.
So-
You got the Q.
So
Yeah.
we're taking.
It's always extra letters.
But anyway, yeah, pride.
We'll be back next week.
But
Straight pride.
Yeah,
Sounds
straight-
like something called cat.
yeah, straight pride. They was having. Look it up. Look it up.
It's
I'm not looking that up.
It sounds
Wait,
purely antagonistic.
You think so? I was gonna act like because the definition of pride. I looked it up. Definition of pride is a feeling or deep pleasure of satisfaction derived from one's own achievement. And can you really feel achieved about being straight? I mean,
Could you really have pride about
yeah, can you-
any part of your sexuality? Because it's not anything achieved.
you don't think you can have pride about
No. What's the definition you said?
the definition of pride?
Yeah.
It's feeling of deep pleasure or satisfaction derived from one's own achievements.
Right, an achievement.
Yes.
Sexuality is not an achievement.
Gaining liberty for that sexuality is achievement.
I understand that, but the sexuality in itself isn't. So like that.
He's
I'm-
arguing
I'm-
about why the
The concept,
straight
period.
pride
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense. Not
Yeah,
arguing
right.
why pride in itself doesn't make sense. Like
Yes.
the pride festivals, the ones that we
okay,
have going
okay.
on right now.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. I was like, what are you talking? Okay, gotcha. But yeah, I was gonna ask. Basically, is there a point to having a straight pride parade?
Look, man, straight men been celebrated. If you look, they've been celebrated throughout the entire history of humanity. There's,
I seen some shirts too.
like, there ain't nothing.
There was some shirts who was like,
It look tough. How many you order?
It looked tough.
If it was a
I didn't
feminist,
click on
is
the-
there a feminist parade?
I'm not sure.
Bro, they have a feminist parade. I might pull up.
They have Women's Day.
Of course, they have one. They have
They got Mother's
National
Day.
Boyfriends Day. They have National.
No, I'm saying Women's Day. They had the
The other day was
protests and marches and
National
stuff like that.
Best
Cognac
friend-
Day.
What?
The other day was National Cognac Day.
Like the
Like
alcohol?
Hennessy, yeah. No, I'm talking about they do like a women's like feminist festival. I pull up just to not even to like be in the mix, to just absorb the energy. Because sometimes you don't even got to be in the mix to absorb the energy. You could just like watch it and really take pride in what humanity is doing
No.
and the direction they're going.
But do you guys know what June is?
Yeah, it's Pride Month, ain't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You seen the Xbox thing? Like Xbox done came through. They got like the little Xbox circle, and it's like got the pride flag.
What are you referring to? Like on the screen?
No, like their Facebook page. Obviously, it has like the X that you don't play Xbox.
Yeah, I don't play. I was like, what are you talking about?
But you know how like the Xbox emblem on the controller
Yeah.
to use to turn on? That's their profile picture, and it is illuminated in the pride flag.
So instead of it being green,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it's still green. Like the X is still green, but you know how like the backing is silver. The silver is the pride flag
Okay.
with the green X.
Nah. But how do you guys feel about it being in the middle of Pride Month? Like,
What you mean, the straight
It's
pride?
just-
yeah, straight pride.
I told you it's purely antagonistic.
Couldn't even wait till July to do it. Like, come on, man. Like, I don't know. Crazy. But yeah, just wanted to see. But what do you guys think about the straight pride parade? You guys gonna attend? You guys don't like it? You guys against it? Let us know, okay? Comment below. But we're gonna get into the show. I'm your boy Joshua Freeman. To my left, I got Mr. Bryan Carey. To my right, I got Mr. Desmond Tillmon. Welcome back to the Infusion Breakdown Show. So the topic we're gonna get into today, the question is, what is the greatest force that divides people, and what is the greatest force that brings people together? So, I don't know who wants to start this off.
I'll start.
You wanna
suppose.
start?
Sure. So my answer to the greatest force that divides people is ignorance. So we fear. Yeah, we didn't get the same thing. We tend to fear what we don't know.
Oh, you didn't get to say that.
And being that it is Pride Month, I feel this is a very appropriate example. So a little while ago, I think it was a TED Talk or something like that. I listened to those. And so they had spoke about Harvey Milk. So a lot of people don't know who he is. But he was many things. He was a former, I guess, Navy officer. high school teacher. He had a camera shop, but he was most notably known for the fact that he was one of the first openly gay elected officials in the United States. He did a lot of things to support that community and just build up the community in general. He believed that all the communities had needs, and the best way to address them is to build connectivity. So he actually was assassinated in 1978, but there's an excerpt that I'm about to read from one of his speeches, and it sums up the sentiment that I have towards this issue. So let me pull it up. So he said, "Gay brothers and sisters, you must come out. Come out to your parents. I know that it's hard and it will hurt them, but think how they will hurt you in the voting booth. Come out to your relatives. Come out to your friends, if indeed they are your friends. Come out to your neighbors, to your fellow workers, to the people you work, where you eat and shop. Come out to only the people that you know and who know you, not to anyone else. But once for all, break down all the myths, destroy the lies and distortions. For your sake, for their sake, for the sake of the youngsters who are becoming scared by the votes from Dade to Eugene." So what I gathered from that was the ignorance of not knowing about a certain group of people allows you to alienate them and make assumptions and distort your representation of that group. It's outgroup homogeneity. You guys familiar with that?
Heard it before.
So when somebody is outside of your in-group, whatever group you assign yourself to, it's easier for you to lump them together and they're more prone to be stereotyped.
Oh, okay.
But you can also see like the same principle of ignorance being a dividing factor. If you look at a number of other groups like xenophobia, do you guys remember like the New Zealand massacre, the biggest massacre in New Zealand? Like 49 people died earlier this year. And then also we can also look back to 1913 and Birth of a Nation, the original movie. So how many of those stereotypes in that movie have been perpetuated to current day? That's where watermelon came from. That's where the big lips came from and everything. Yeah. So it's a lot of ignorance, and once you've been misinformed and you don't have the opportunity to educate yourself properly. So going back to like the theme of the pride, I guess. So I have a personal story about that, I guess. So growing up, I didn't see many representations of gay people in the media aside from like the obnoxious ones, the over the top ones, like extra flamboyant, always, the kind of people that say doing too much. I saw that. And then it wasn't up until I started working, I got my first real job at like 16. And I was working in the real world and interacting with other people. And I was able to work with some people who were gay. And I saw that they weren't like that. So that built my understanding that, hey, they're people just like us. So initially, my initial disdain was based on the fact that I was ignorant to them. And that was a learning moment. And on the opposite side, the greatest fact that brings people together, is understanding.
Gotcha. Because basically what you're saying, what the greatest force that divides people is basically the lack of knowledge. Ignorance is lack of knowledge for people.
Right.
And then understanding will create. Okay. I'm going next, right?
Yeah, you're going next.
So as far as when I think about the greatest force that divides people, I came with something different. I came with beliefs. Like the greatest force that divides people is beliefs. I'm looking at it on as an actual macro scale, like literally the whole world, like religious groups. They can separate from the beliefs from religion, or even like in a household, or like a belief of how a man should treat a woman, or how a woman should treat a man in the household. That can divide people, even in the household. So I'm looking on a micro level as far as just between religious groups, how people's beliefs, and you don't have to go to religious groups. You can go into just simple beliefs as far as the presidential beliefs, as far as the different groups, Republican, Democrat, abortion, just different types of laws in society that divides us based on our beliefs.
Right.
So I feel that's part of what divides us mainly. As far as what brings people together, I'll say tragedy. What brings people together? What we all witnessed with the passing of Nipsey Hussle, a lot of people got together and was like, we can't do this anymore. Whether it changed or not, that's up for debate. But a lot of black people got together and was like, we need to stop this. Basically, we need to stop the violence. We need to get together. We need to help in our communities. We need to teach what Nipsey taught and everything like that. So that tragedy, and even like other leaders passing away, Malcolm X, a lot of black people got together, MLK, like they got together, probably in anger, but they got together. So tragedy definitely brings people together on that scale. That's how I was just looking at it. Yeah.
So my question for you is, so how do we get that sense of camaraderie to last? Because it seems like when somebody dies, like when Nipsey dies, or when Malcolm X dies, or Martin Luther King dies, people will come out the woodworks and they'll get together and have candlelight vigils and talk about doing stuff. But it seems to be very short-lived.
Yeah. Consistency first. Consistency would definitely help. Because we started, we don't finish it basically. Like we started, and then next week we back to what got us in the situation in the first place. Basically.
I don't even think it's consistency.
You don't think so? What else you think?
No, I think it's the movements aren't genuine. I feel like in the moment it's deeply genuine, but I think once and it's just like a relationship, once the honeymoon phases down, once their like reality settles back in, people just go back to their everyday jobs. And I get that's where consistency, settles in, but consistency would never really be the issue if the act was genuine from the get-go. Like I feel like if it's truly genuine, then you will, kind of like embody or like the fire within you would, there'll be a fire, internal fire that would be sparked to change for the greater good, not just to change because of tragedy. I feel like and if it's genuine and you really realize and you were following the movement before they passed, then that's just more of a reason to stick to the script. I feel like if you're trying to stick to a script that was never yours and you're just following it because someone passed or because, a death really hit you or a tragedy really hit you, then you're just setting yourself up for, what is it? The hamster wheel? You're just setting yourself up to, consistently run a cycle in a hamster wheel because you're not taking the time out to assess what needs to be done, how to do it, and then do it. You're just sitting here seeing what happened, and you're in the moment, and you're feeling, and the first thing you do is you try, but if you're not writing anything down, if you're not thinking about what your next step is going to be, then you're going to accomplish one thing and then just stagnate, and then you're going to find yourself back in survival mode. And survival mode is typically what, keeps people in these their situations to begin with. I feel like once you take a human being out of survival mode and you allow them to, essentially feel emotions on a human level and happiness on a human level, then you realize that they can actually accomplish anything. It's just that when you're in that survival mode and you're not thinking clear like you would if you were, not necessarily say accomplished, but if you were leveled out, if you were happy, if you were, content per se, not even content in like the term of complacency, but just content where you're at in life and realizing that the next day, withholds a new opportunity.
Yeah, I thought it has a large amount to do with like the planning. For example, like there aren't clearly defined objectives. So we say that Nipsey Hussle got shot, he's dead. So what now? So they're gonna get together, they're gonna march, but it's not like. So what's the end goal? Okay, what I do now? What can I do in the immediate future to get there? What's the next step? Like it's the same as people trying to lose weight. They say they want to lose 100 pounds. Well, you have no idea how you're gonna do it. Yeah. Are you gonna run 5 miles a day? Are you gonna start off with 1? Are you going to get on the treadmill, period? Like, what are you going to do?
Or you're going to realize that it starts in the kitchen first, and then everything translates to the...
It's the lack of planning.
Yeah. But...
I got you. I was going to ask you, though, you don't think, because you said if it's genuine, you don't think that personal circumstances can get away with that?
Absolutely, but I feel like absolute personal circumstances can get in the way, but if it's genuine, if it's something worth... holding on to, if it's something worth sticking to, you're going to go back to it. You're naturally going to find yourself coming back to it. It could be unintentional, no matter the circumstances.
Okay.
Because think about it like this. Think about how many people genuinely want to help somebody on like a life coach scale, but they end up finding their calling on like a customer service scale. They're not impacting people on the magnitude, but nevertheless, they realize that they still have that ability to impact someone's life, period. And I feel like it's just realizing the circumstances, because even in customer service, you can learn tools there dealing with people than, watching someone else coach someone on YouTube for hours out of the day, because essentially you're just going to be copying what you see. It's not going to be genuine. When you learn how to, create your own script and, do what makes you happy at the end of the day, then I feel like it'll be easier for you to stick to your script, because it's going to be something that comes from within rather than something that is external and you're pulling it in.
You have a personal stake in it.
Yeah.
I got you. But before you answer though, because you're about to answer.
Yeah.
Okay. Before you answer though, I want to ask, because you said ignorance definitely divides people. But do you don't feel that people can come together in ignorance, as far as something like the KKK?
You mean, is that not a divisive group? Do they not exclude other people?
Yeah, but they're still coming together though,
They are.
based on their belief and their ignorance of.
I put it
White
this way:
superiority.
ignorance divides us more than it brings us together. And if it does bring us together on the premise of ignorance, it's not for a good cause.
I know. I'm just asking. Do you
Yeah.
think believe in that subset though, that ignorance can bring?
I do acknowledge that.
Okay, I was making sure. Okay.
But I don't want to be part of any group that's ignorant.
Nobody does, real. Anyway, I'm not getting to that. But you can go, Desmond. What you think?
Mine, and I'm actually gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. For instance, I had told you all off script last week that I was reading this religious book. The first thing that came to my mind was religion, because think about how many wars.
Yo, I thought you were praying.
Huh?
You said I think
No. Think about like how many religious wars have happened throughout history, like just based off of your own personal beliefs or religious beliefs. So that I was originally gonna say it, but I didn't feel like.
You was really gonna say it?
Yeah. Well, no. Like earlier in the week.
Oh, okay.
And then I was like, nah, I don't want to say it. Like it was a thought, and I was like, nah, I don't feel like doing it because you really got to bring your stuff when you start talking about religion. But mine is more, I feel, modern and in tune with not even just our times, but times in general. And I feel like jealousy is the one thing that brings everybody apart. And I feel, that puts people apart. And I feel like jealousy is really one of those things where it's weird. Like you can find yourself admiring something out of jealousy. You can really find yourself hating something out of jealousy. That's why I say it's really confusing, because touching bases on like admiration, you could use fitness for example and think about how many people really wish that they had the body that somebody else had. They envy that person because they have the body that they want, but they're never willing to put in the work to get it. Mm-hmm. And because they're not willing to put in the work to get it, then obviously self-doubt comes in. When self-doubt comes in, then obviously you spew that self-doubt into actual verbiage, like, oh, well, if what I mean by that is like, you'll see somebody that has something you like, and instead of acknowledging what they did to get there, you acknowledge what they didn't do per se, like how you would have essentially did it per se.
You assume they got it just because of the results of their circumstance, or their privilege, or something like that.
Yeah, like almost from like a privilege standpoint. So I feel like jealousy in that point. And then I also said, I said jealousy and admiration, and jealousy and hate. And then if you also think about like jealousy, and you can think about jealousy in just like work environment. Like think about how many people will see you flourishing in your environment and do anything that they can to infiltrate that environment, and then find reasons to poke holes in it. Like, oh, well, you could do this better, or you could do that better. Like just acknowledging what good is going on and congratulating people for what good is going on does a lot more than trying to poke holes into what somebody does have going on. And I feel like in terms of like jealousy, you're always looking at what they did, what they're doing right, to point out what they're doing wrong per se. If you follow me on that one. I feel like it's really like a complex thought, but then I feel like once you actually break everything down, like somebody will always admire something, but they're admiring it for a reason, and 10 times out of 10 you're not going to admire something for like a good reason. I feel like you will give somebody words of affirmations, or congratulate somebody for doing something good. But I feel like if it's like full-blown admiration, like admiration to the point where it's like envious, then I feel like it's not genuine, and I feel like it's not something that is essentially good, like internally good. Like I feel like you're not admiring that person for a good reason. I think you're just admiring them for doing what you couldn't do, instead of realizing that you could do it. And I feel like anytime you're admiring for somebody for doing something that, like I said, it self-doubt like bruised through that. And I feel like I picked jealousy because I knew there's gonna be a lot of rebuttals.
Yeah.
And so I'm ready for the rebuttals, because the rebuttals will allow me to formulate my opinion better rather than just talking about it. So
I appreciate that. So going back to a prior episode, do you remember we talked about whether jealousy is it always a negative force?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Aren't jealousy and admiration two different things? Isn't there a very fine distinguishment between the two?
I feel like jealousy is just. Don't quote me, boy, but I feel like jealousy in a way could be confused admiration.
It could be confused.
Confused admiration.
I don't think so.
Why not?
Because
I feel like you asked this question on the episode.
Yeah.
Is that weird? I feel like this is a deja vu.
Maybe I don't
know. But keep going. That's weird.
But just the connotation of how I apply to my life, for example, like there's somebody who I look up to in the workplace. For example, our CTO. He's an incredibly smart guy. He's a engineer who's really all for engineer. Actually, he has really good social skills. Like super smart. He can explain something like really, really complicated, like multi-tenancy on computers, to somebody like you guys with no computer, well, to a limited computer background, because like, you're tech savvy, but like you're not like computer engineers or anything like that. He's just that kind of sharp guy. But it's not like to the point where I'm jealous of him or anything like that, because I felt like he got where he was at because of his privilege, or he got there because of something he didn't deserve, or it's something that I feel like I can't attain. It's a fine line. I feel like admiration is more so a positive connotation, whereas jealousy is purely, it takes you down a dark spiral, essentially. Because through admiration, it will drive you to be better. Jealousy will drive you to be bitter. That's how I draw the line between the two.
So jealousy is confused admiration.
They're two different things.
No, I know they're two different things, but I'm just saying, like, putting them on the spectrum is just when you give the definition that you just gave, it just sounds like confused admiration. Like one leads you to want to be better, the other leads you to be bitter.
I see this.
So if you flip
two opposite ends.
If you flip it, then they'll meet in the middle.
That's an analogy that I used before too. Do we ever have a discussion about the political spectrum? That's actually a circle.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think
okay, we're not gonna talk about this today.
But I see what you're saying, and I'm not gonna lie, it makes perfect sense. But you say you admire him because of what he can do,
yeah,
or do you just say you respect him for what he can do?
I admire him for it.
Does it as admiration like want you to be better to where you attain the same knowledge?
I want to achieve more. That's how I am. Like I see what somebody else does, and not out of just strictly to outdo somebody, but I see what they're capable of, so I know I'm capable of it too.
So you want to do it on your own way. You don't want to do it their way.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
Like you want to acquire your own set of skills and have pride in the set of skills that you've accumulated, rather than seeing what somebody else did.
Not necessarily
become good at it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not trying to emulate him perfectly. I'm not trying to be him. I'm trying to be the best version of myself.
I can see that then. But what brings us together, I feel like.
But before you
go ahead, you had something to say?
Yeah.
Too bad, bro. No,
the jealousy part. Okay, so I feel jealousy hasn't always divided people. Probably on a scale that you're talking about, because I'm thinking about, because your example was the gym, and the gym hasn't always been around. I'm thinking of like back when they was just getting here in America type thing. What type of jealousy was going on then? Like jealousy of adultery, like you messing with my wife type thing. Like what type of jealousy you talking about? That was major to the point that was dividing people.
What time frame are you talking about?
I'm talking about like Christopher Columbus thinking.
You're looking across history, right?
Yeah, looking across history. Yeah, because I'm thinking jealousy became more prominent in the era of social media, in the era of actual competition, in the era of more.
I think jealousy has always been prominent.
What does this
within society
on a major scale?
I can't. I don't think you can necessarily use like
measure
like Christopher Columbus or anything. I feel if we. What? I mean, no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I think if you were to measure it, then you would look at who did Christopher Columbus represent? He represented Spain. And obviously, during that time, it was Spain, correct? Mm-hmm. You have to think about England and France also on their conquest to expand and create new colonies. So obviously, there is a competition. And if you think about, you sit at a round table, and you will hear England and France talking about what they've discovered and what riches they found in these lands, it's going to make someone envious of what they found and try and embark on something that has not been found yet. So I think you could take jealousy in that aspect and look at it as it fueled somebody to do something, But I think it's still jealousy at the end of the day.
You choose somebody to do something, but isn't that like a positive aspect as far as you feeling to do something? Like
Christopher Columbus coming over here was a positive.
Okay, you look.
No. We're still.
Okay, you taking it there, but
no, because I understand. I was like, hold up, bro, I'm about to fuck you up.
I was thinking about the scale too. For example, like jealousy is typically in smaller scale things, like amongst groups of peers or families and things like that.
Yeah, but
I haven't seen anybody in the news recently threatening with nuclear warfare because they were jealous of another country. Like, you guys have a nicer climate. You know what? I just want to nuke you.
It might not be so prominent that we're like, oh, we're not gonna say we're
jealous. Not gonna say climate. I think I honestly feel like you could look at like North Korea and Russia, and you think about how they target the U.S. just based off on the like global scale and global power that we have. It's not no damn like political views. It's literally they feel like the U.S. has the power to tread waters that they're not allowed to tread in. They have the power to do stuff that they're not allowed to do. Like, you honestly have to look at what the U.S. is essentially allowed to do. Look at all like the the World Trade Organizations and all the like global or like all the global groups that are comprised of nations, and look how the U.S. and European countries are always the pillar, never Russia, China, or North Korea. So you also have to look at like, okay, well, now we have all this money, now we have this military might, and we're not looked at in the same light that the U.S. is. Like, that's pure blown jealousy. That is jealousy that you see someone with the might that you want to have, so I'm going to accumulate that might and hope that it gains respect, but it's still not gaining respect. So then you try and what was it the other day? You saw the Russian ship coming like 50 feet of a Navy ship. Like, that stuff is unheard of. Like, even think about like the amount of like cargo vessels and other ships that have been running into U.S. ships. Not saying that they're happening just based out of jealousy, but when you look at two countries that have just been like having jabs based off of Russian jets intercepting naval pilots, or even Russian boats provoking U.S. ships, like, it's like that stuff is jealousy at the end of the day. That's bitterness. Like, you're upset that. And I understand that it runs deeper in the sense of like how U.S. has their hands and stuff in like the Middle East, and the Saudi Arabia arms deal that just happened, and then you got the Iran, like the nuclear deal as well, to where like Russia feels like we probably shouldn't have our hand in stuff that far east, but nevertheless, like, that is still jealousy at the end of the day. Countries find it more appealing to deal with the U.S. than they do with North Korea or Russia. They want that.
I got you. But you can keep going as far as
that was really well defended.
Yeah, yeah, I got it.
I'm not willing to say that jealousy is a primary factor in division.
No, it's not. But
I was about to say I don't think it's a primary factor
because it's not deeper than that. You have to have a belief.
But he's going between the scales of. Like, he literally went and said, on the macro scale, France and Spain don't really like each other, so they can be jealous of these competitions. So I understand what he's talking about as far as that. Yeah.
Like, if you're gonna talk about politics, man, I'm gonna be able to match you with that one. But I really liked like your example of a coworker that you aspired to be like, or admired, not even aspired to be like, but admired to match on a scale of like knowledge rather than like just output. Because I feel like when it comes to like things such as output, like, and I say like admiration in the form of output. You're not essentially doing something because it's something you feel you could do. It's something that you see somebody else doing and you feel you want to match it. So that's what I meant by that. Like, confused admiration, like jealousy. Like, you see somebody accomplishing certain things and you want to accomplish those same things. Therefore, you're going to do it because you want the recognition rather than realizing you can do it because you know you can do it. Because that other person is not competing with nobody. Yeah. The person who was already number one wasn't competing with anybody from the get-go. They were just doing what they already knew they could do.
Right.
And then you have people playing from the back like, oh, well, this person is doing this amount of work and they're getting the recognition. Let me go ahead and do it so I can get my recognition. That's still jealousy at the end of the day.
So you're saying internal motivation versus external?
Yeah, essentially.
Okay, I follow.
But one thing I feel like brings us together, and I feel like it's really cliche because we've even had topics about it and what it truly means, but I feel like love is the one thing that brings everybody together, because I feel like, and this goes back to what I said in the jealousy. I feel like, or even when you might have said something else, talking about bringing people out of their survival instincts and having them in a place of like content and happiness, and the drive to want to succeed. I feel like out of love, you're more likely to acknowledge somebody's good doing and commend them for it, rather than being envious and wanting their position, or being envious and wanting to achieve the same things they do. I feel like out of love, you're a lot more susceptible to being grateful for what somebody's doing. There's a lot more gratitude. There's a lot more acknowledgement, rather than acknowledgement based off of envy. It's acknowledgement based off of genuine happiness for what somebody's doing. So I feel like, and that's just from what I believe. Like, I'm not gonna lie, as introverted as I am, coming to terms with where I'm at in life, not even in the sense of like admitting that I'm a failure, but admitting that I have my own path rather than trying to follow somebody else's script. It allowed me to like actually sit back and realize what a great human race we are, and what great capabilities we have, but we just do a lot of the stuff for the wrong reasons. And that's why I said jealousy. And I said, when you just start doing stuff out of love and genuine belief for wanting to better society, and being a contributor to society at the end of the day, no matter how much money you're making, or how much rank you think you pull, just being a genuine contributor to society is like, that's something you do out of love. That's not something that you have to do. It's something that you should do. It's something that you need to do. And I feel like you can only do that once you just find contentness and find happiness in who you are, and understand that you're going to be yourself for the next 60 to 80 years.
I can't argue love as things that bring people together. You argue love, come on. But
just a hateful person.
Yeah, gotta be. But do you, as far as the thing that divides people, do you feel that, how would you feel people would go about fixing jealousy? How do you feel that works?
How I said it. Through doing stuff through love, like just
love.
Like, and I don't even say love, like, I don't even say love just on the macro scale. I mean it on the micro scale as well, like just learning to love you for your own flaws. I feel like a lot of people, jealousy always, one easy way to look at it is, comparison of looks, comparison of build, comparison of skin color, comparison of skin or hair texture, things like that, like internal stuff. Like, if you just accept who you are, it makes accepting a lot of external and other people, other beings for who they are as well. Like, if you can't accept yourself for who you are, then you damn sure can't accept somebody else for who they are, because you always realize that there's a part of you that you hate, and all it takes is for you to find somebody that has the same thing you hate, and then it's just a clash.
Another example I just thought of, as far as dividing people through jealousy, I was thinking of how back in the day, of course I'm thinking through history, thinking of back in the day of black people being jealous of white people, basically because they've been taught to hate what they had, so they've been jealous of white people, so it divides between the black community. So I was looking at it that way too. So, but I got you.
Going back to jealousy, so it's rooted, like you said, rooted internally, and it's always a reflection of that person's inner self. So it was a quote from Dr. Phil. He was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he was saying,
that is a good ass podcast.
It is, love it. And Dr. Phil was saying, they were talking about the subject of jealousy. They had mentioned it, and he was saying, it's something about that. It's something about me I can't stand about that person.
Yeah.
So it's always something that you identify, and you see that in other people, and you dislike it.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you hate being a weak person, you don't ever want to be weak, and it's like, you can smell it like a shark smells blood in the water. You can identify it in other people, and you see that, and it drives you crazy because it reminds you of what you have deep down inside of yourself.
And one thing that Nipsey said was, he said, when you think about, black men in the hood, they're not going to other neighborhoods looking for a white man with his business suit on, or a Mexican with his button up on. They're going looking for a black person that look just like you, that's dressed the same way, with the same amount of hate in themselves that you have within yourself, and you're trying to cause the maximum amount of harm to that person. It's like internal hatred, really. Like, even if you look at like going to the gym, just you can look at and not even picking on like black people, but you can look at any other race and you'll get a head nod, you'll get a what's up, and then it's just like some black people where it's just like a side eye and like going back to doing what they're doing. Like, I'm not in the gym to compete with you. I'm not in life to compete with you. Like you can just tell like by looking at them, and then the energy that they give off, that it's just like something's wrong.
That's funny because I'm trying to think of how I've seen that play out. But I remember in high school I had a teacher who was a white lady, and she said that's what she likes about the black community is that she sees like the sense of camaraderie. Like you see people on the street,
it's
like,
always there.
I'll pass you, and like you'll not be like what's up.
Exactly.
Like, it's just that mutual understanding. But she said amongst like other groups, you don't necessarily see that. I guess she was referring to white people because that's the group she belonged to. But that's the direct contradiction what you just said, right?
No, what I'm saying is you will see other groups. You can say what's up to other groups. You can say what's up to people within your group, but then you'll see the one person that looks like you out of everybody within your group that is just like looking you up and down really weird, like looking at you strange, like trying to figure out what's up with you. Like you can't, I mean, yeah, you like you said, the camaraderie is there, but there's always that one bad apple within the group.
Okay. Because people tend to click up anyway.
Yeah, always.
In groups,
always. Yeah. And sometimes it's not even like beef. It's just like, you know, I ain't gonna say what's up unless you say what's up first, type stuff. And if you don't say what's up, then
we ain't saying nothing.
Exactly.
But we have a general trend to identify people more that more closely resemble us, whether it be from physical attributes or just like whatever group you want to break yourself down into, like of your intersectionality, like any dimension you want to break yourself down into, you identify more closely with them, whether it's like your social class, the amount of money you make, what school you went to, your skin color, and stuff like that. And I think it has its roots in like biological evolution, because we look at other, when we're in the environment, you look around and try to assess things for threats, and you see things that are more closely to you as less threatening. Yeah. So you look at people who, for example, old white lady who locks her door, so when a black guy walks by the door, she doesn't. He's more far removed away from her.
Yeah, I got you. But have you guys noticed that basically what we said as far as the greatest force that divides people and the greatest force that brings people together, the thing that brings people together, what we said usually can solve the thing that divides people? You guys really notice that? Because you said ignorance and understanding, knowledge basically can help solve that. And you said love and love. But yeah.
What did you say though?
I said tragedy, but really the thing is really beliefs and tragedy. The thing's about getting it beforehand and make sure your beliefs are in line and everything like that.
Well, you weren't completely off about that, because in the wake of tragedy, people tend to push aside their beliefs and just look for complete altruism. For example, 9/11, you had all these people coming together and doing stuff. They actually made a comic book. This is really interesting. So around that time, they had a Marvel comic book around the time, and they had even the villains were helping to rescue people out the road. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that was really neat, and it just illustrated that principle. Even though it's like a fictional realm, but you actually had people from all walks of life, people from different religions, everybody just trying to get together and rescue as many people as they could.
Yeah. Good point. But is there anything else you guys want to say about this topic? I think that right?
I mean, I was pretty fascinated by the fact that
we didn't agree.
Yeah, because usually it's like a 2-on-1 assault. Somebody's getting ganged up on, but today everybody stood their ground.
But yeah, what do you guys think though? What is the greatest force that divides people to you guys, and what is the greatest force that brings people together? Okay, comment below, let us know. Okay, but that's it for today's show. We're gonna see you guys next week. As always, your boy. Oh yeah, album of the week, right?
Where's the camaraderie? How many episodes? How long we been doing this?
Ignorance.
But we did skip like about 5 episodes
because
you forgot about the album of the week.
Yes, man. Go. Like I said last week, the honorary album is always going to be Victory Lap. But I guess I have 2 albums this week. When I'm at work, I just surfed through Tidal, and the first album was I Want You by Marvin Gaye. If you haven't listened to that one, you know, if you smoke, roll you something up, listen to that one. And then listening to I Want You, the first track on the album, it sparked me to go listen to American Gangster, because it's one of the songs Jay-Z sampled. And from there, I've just been listening to both of them nonstop, interchangeably. So those are my 2.
What's the name of it again?
Both of them?
Yeah.
I Want You by Marvin Gaye and American Gangster by Jay-Z.
Okay. You guys heard it here. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
No damn disrespect.
welcome to the show. Go and take a seat. Let's talk about the world while taking a sip of tea. A bunch of brothers come together. That's something we love to see. The company can't get no better. We come from running the streets, but we here now. The vibes all good. We survived. We gon' try and show the world inside the minds of some visionary brothers. We only got each other. We don't support each other. Ain't nobody gonna love us. We can talk about the violence, the silence, the Mayans, the stake that the minds in the science, defiance, living and dying and laughing and crying, pure bliss and heartache and quitting and trying. That's real from the heart, truth in the heart. To come up in the future, we just gotta play our part. Can we handle that? Let them tear us apart. Infusion breakdown show. Go and talk about your thought.